Okay, welcome back. Doing not really a review, more like just a first impressions. Tried a game of Kings of War with my brother. We did a 500 point game, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Around 500 points with my Warlord pike and shot figures. So we did Ottomans and Austrians or Habsburgs. But for Kings of War, we used the kingdoms, or I made up the lists. I used the kingdoms of men lists. So with that, you can use pretty much any historical figures you want, as long as they adhere to like roughly like what the unit's supposed to be and the unit footprint. So I'll scroll down. Now our units were slightly bigger because each warlord square infantry base is 40 by 40 mil. So our units had like a frontage, like the regular infantry regiments that we had a frontage of 120 mil instead of the 100 that you are supposed to have. So not a huge deal, like because we both had it. I don't think it conferred like a huge advantage, but if uh, if you have like I said, if you have a collection of historical figures already that are sort of around these basic requirements, or they're based on individual square bases, you can go ahead and use those, and it's not a big deal. So you can play this. So this is just like the basic rules. It's 45 pages, as you can see. You can download this for free off Mantic. And then there's a website that's Easy Army. If you just search Easy Army Kings of War or Easy Army Mantic, you just have to sign up for a free like account with your email, and then you can make army lists with that, and it has all the stats and stuff. So I think if you want to get started like on the cheap, like I did, just get these rules, go on Easy Army, and you can play with those Kingdoms of Men, or with the other races if you've got an old Warhammer Fantasy Battle army or another 28 millimeter fantasy army. You can go ahead and use that. The rules are pretty simple. You move, you shoot, and you fight. Close combat. There's really not, at least in these rules, there's not like a ton of crazy or like unusual stuff by most war game standards. It's pretty simple, easy, really easy to pick up and play. You just have to have the figures basically. And the other great thing about it too is, so this preferred model count, as long as the unit is like in this sort of template, you have at least 15 guys for a regiment, you're good to go. You don't need exactly that many. It's more about the unit as a unit, which is almost more realistic in a way for this kind of combat, instead of like picking individual models. So they've got some examples here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll just skip. I'll jump ahead here to the like the statistics block, because then we can go through the phases as well, because they're really simple. Let's go. So these rules have just a couple of the army lists. They've or a couple sample units, I should say. They're not even full lists. So you've got a basic scenario, Um, and then, so we've got the dwarfs. And you have a speed, so that's how many inches they can move. So there are individualized speed stats in this game, which normally I'm not really a huge fan of, but I think in this game it works because there's so everything else is so much easier. It's not like a huge deal to have different movement rates. Now you've got your melee, your ranged, and your defense. So it's really simple. When you want to go and shoot with your, this dwarf unit, so you're hitting on a 5, and then you, and let's say you're shooting at, some of these dwarf or orc axemen, shoot at them, and they have a 5+ defense. And so since crossbows have 1 piercing, you get a +1 to every roll. And sorry about that. Sorry about the dead air there. And you just have to roll against the defense, so it's pretty easy. And then it's the same thing for close combat. The only, at least in these rules, I haven't read the full rule book yet, so I don't know, but the way it's presented in the 45-page free rules is I can't imagine it's too different though. You handle all your charges during the movement phase. So if you want to charge, you can go double your base movement. So like these dwarf ironclads can charge 8 inches, and that's it. And then you do your shooting, and then you do your close combat in that close combat phase. And then and then the close combat's the same thing as shooting. You roll, you need to get so like these guys need to get a 4 to hit. And then you roll against whatever the defending unit's defense is, and that's really it. And it's that simple. And then if you take casualties, so casualties are cumulative for the purposes of morale in this game. So in shooting or in close combat, you roll 2 dice, and then you add however many casualties that unit's gotten up to that point. So if let's say you've got these guys, these Iron Watch crossbowmen, you roll against their nerve value, which is this one. So let's say you've had 5 casualties so far. You roll, let's say you roll a 6. Okay, so you've got 11. So that means this is the value. If you go over this means they've wavered, so they can only move back and like to the side, I think. And then if you roll, let's say you got 5 casualties, you roll a 10. Okay, and you've gone over their rout value of 12, then they're routed, units destroyed. So again, really simple. Nothing too like crazy. Now the one thing I will say is these quick start rules don't have all of the universal special rules. So there was like a few units we were doing with Kingdoms of Men that had like nimble and steady aim that weren't in here, so I wasn't really sure because I was checking the rules what to do. And but that's not a huge deal. That's just a matter of getting the full rule book. But the fact that they have the universal special rules at all is great. I love that. Makes gameplay for I think any war game system just so much simpler and just easier to follow. So you can have the complexity, you can have units with interesting attributes, but you don't have to flip back and, okay, what does this unit from this army list do? Okay, if they've got, keyword or special rule X, they do X. Okay, got it. Because I have the same special rule in my army, so I understand what's going on. And then as you can see, the stats increase depending on the size. So if they're a troop, a regiment, or a horde. And you just adjust based on that. And it's pretty simple. US, I'm not sure what that, some of these, like I said, this isn't like a comprehensive review, this is just a first impression, so I don't remember what I'm not sure what the US was, or unit size. Okay, I think that's what that means. And then I'm not sure what the HT is. Yeah, again, I'm not sure, but I know the basics from the game we played, and then the attacks. It's you do that in shooting or close combat, doesn't matter. It's the same number of attacks for both. So yes, there's statistics, but it's pretty simple. And then the free rules also has orcs, and but they have more. So I think these rules are pretty good. I like them. Pretty easy to pick up and play. But you also have, obviously, because it's a rank and flank game, that's a huge part of it. So if you attack somebody on the flank with a charge somebody on the flank, you get double the number of attacks. If you charge them from the rear, which is what happened in our game, I got charged from the rear, you get triple attacks. So that's a really big advantage. And then in terms of what I didn't like so much, it is an I go, you go game. And normally, as I've said on other videos, I'm not really a huge fan of it, but in this one it works a little bit better just because the combats move really quickly, so it doesn't necessarily feel like you're just helpless. And there's also a rule for countercharging as well. And then the other thing that I was kind of scratching my head about, wasn't the biggest fan, was the shooting. So the units, my brother was playing with some heavy crossbowmen, but they were upgraded to have rifles, muskets, and when he was shooting, he was only usually getting like one or two shots that actually wounded, and I wasn't sure if that was just the dice, or maybe it's just like it was just really hard to hit with shooting, for shooting to make an impact. And I guess it makes sense because it's more of a close up game, but just one of those things, I guess. But I think if you wanted to just needed some rules to do a historical game, like I said, you could use your historical figures, just get this PDF off Mantic, and play, and then play with Kingdoms of Men, and you'll be pretty set if you're doing. Heck, you could even do like ancients probably. Just pick the right kind of units and use this. Now they do have Kings of War historical, so that has some actual historical army lists, um, and and it's the same core rules according to this. So just to wrap up, yeah, I like this system. Again, pretty easy to pick up and play. Um, normally, I'm not super into the high fantasy stuff, but I do like that they have the Mantic range of models looks really good. I do like them generally. Um, and they have some nice looking figures, and and you can use any models you want, because like I was even thinking of buying some Perry's early Renaissance, late medieval mercenaries, and painting them up as Hungarian black army troops, and then just using them and then I could double that as a King's War army, just to just get them on bases for that size. Um, so that's one possibility. Um, but yep, I think that's the video. My first impressions, quick review of Kings of War. I'll try and maybe do a follow up if we can play maybe a larger game with the models we've got, or something. Not sure yet. But yeah, I think conclusion, few little things I wasn't a huge fan of, but overall I think it's a pretty good set of rules. Works pretty well, so can't complain too much. And hope you like this video, and thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.